So good morning, grade 11 students. In this session, we're going to continue our lesson in pedigree in the part of genetics chapter. So we talk about the pedigree. We said that it's the family tree that represent the diseases that are transmitted or the traits that are transmitted from the parents to their offspring. We said that this is the pedigree always and always and always. Whenever we have to draw a pedigree, they ask you to schematize the pedigree showing the family members. It should be drawn using a pencil and it should be drawn inside a box. So you have to draw a box and you have to give it a title. Simple title. Pedigree showing the family members, the members that are affected by, for example, albinism, by daltonism, or whatever. So here, this is the pedigree. We said that this application, we said that we have Sarah and Maher, both abnormal. They have family history of albinism. This is the albino individuals. And they gave birth to 4 children. So both of them, Sarah and Maher, they are normal, but they gave birth to children. They ask you to construct a pedigree. So first of all, you have to know these notes. From now on, if I ask you, for example, we have the twins, you have to write it, draw it like this. If we have relative mating, you have to put male and female, a line and a line below. So we have 2 lines here. This is the difference between the marriage, normal one, and the relative mating between cousins and so on. So here we continue with the symbols. So these are the symbols of the legends, if you want, for the pedigree. Here we have Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal. Remember last time when we talked about this. Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal, but they gave birth to an affected individual, which is Jack. So here you can deduce that the allele of the disease, it was recessive with respect to the normal allele, which is dominant one. So always and always, I didn't ask you to designate by symbols each of the corresponding alleles. For example, I told you in the first part, determine the dominant and the recessive. Always determine, we have to justify. Always the verb at the rhyme of Wi-Fi, also we have to justify. Yes, Ali, you have a question before we continue?
Yeah,
Yes,
أستاذ.
yes,
مش هو هيدا جاك he's not normal.
yes.
Okay.
Albino man, yes.
لأنه لأنه like you have إنه like white hair وهيك، بس إنه ليه بنقول عنهم not normal؟ طب ما هني
مش
كمان إنه
normal.
عادي.
مش normal. No, no, it's normal. It's not normal. It's affected. It has a disease. This albinism is a disease. That's why we say it's not normal. We differentiate it by normal. Not normal مش معناته إنه not normal مش طبيعي. Not normal. It's the opposite of the normal. يعني affected or diseased, or you say albino. Or for example, diabetes, we say it's affected or disease. Affected meaning a disease. It has a disease. That doesn't mean it's not normal. Okay? So here we have Sarah and
Yeah,
Matt,
okay.
they are normal, but they gave birth to an affected Jack. So affected Jack, so Jack is albino man. So this means that the allele of the disease, it was recessive. It is recessive with respect to the normal allele, which is the dominant one. So from here, you can deduce from the pedigree that the allele of the disease, it is recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. This is first. Second, you can deduce that the pedigree, the allele of this normal, so Jack, it should be homozygous. Since the recessive allele, it cannot be expressed unless in the case of homozygous. And here we can deduce that Maher and Sarah, both of them, they are heterozygous, meaning that they carry the allele, but it was masked. So some of these words, they are keywords, you have to know them and you have to use them. Otherwise, you won't get the full mark. So from now on, I'm going to be so strict in the correction of the quizzes. So you have to use the keywords. So you have to say, since Sarah and Maher, both of them, they are normal, but they gave birth to albino Jack. So they are carrying the albinism allele, but it was masked. So this is an important keyword here. If you didn't use the word masked by the dominant, so masked, you are going to lose minimum a quarter or a half for this part. So the normal allele is dominant over the recessive allele of the albinism. Here in part 3, I ask you to designate by symbol. Imagine that I skipped part 3 and then from part 2, I jumped to part 4. I didn't ask for this part. I didn't ask you to designate by symbols. So your job is to give the symbols. Your job is to give the symbols for the normal and for the affected, for the albinism allele. So your job is to give the symbols. You can't use the symbols in the genotype in part 4 unless you gave them before. So before you start with the genotype, you determine the dominant and the recessive. you identified that the dominant is the normal, so you gave it an N capital, and you have to say let N capital be the symbol of the normal dominant allele over the recessive allele of albinism, and let A small be the symbol of the allele of albinism, which is recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. Then you can start with part 4. You can't start with part 4 unless you gave the symbols. Here I mean if I didn't give you this part, designate by symbols. Mostly, I'm going to skip this part. In the quizzes or in the questions, mostly I'm going to skip this part. This part, mostly I'm going to skip. So designate by symbols, this is your job. You have to give the symbols. If you didn't mention that, for example, N capital for the normal or A small for the albinism, this means that if you are going to use them later on downstairs in the question, this means that you are not working correctly. And the part 4 mark will be crossed as well as part 5. So pay attention to this. Symbols should be given. If I asked or if I didn't ask for, the symbols, they are very important and you have to mention them before you start, either for the genotypes or for the factorial analysis. If you didn't mention the symbols, this means that your question is going to be crossed after the symbols. Yani part 4 and part 5, I'm going to cross them. Why? Because you gave symbol N and A. Even though I will understand that N for the normal and A for albinism, but you should tell me that N is for the normal and A for the albinism allele. If you didn't mention, I would repeat. I'm going to cross the whole question. Yani you get the mark for parts 1 and 2. For 5, you're going to lose the marks. So pay attention to this. Here, let's continue with the question. So determine the dominant and the recessive. We said that Jack is albino and the allele of albinism is recessive. So it should be expressed only in the case of homozygous. Someone is going to ask me, can we put in the case of pure as the same? So here you have to say this. If you didn't explain it like this, you are going to lose the marks. So here, simple and genetics, and also in the genetics and pedigree and the crosses, you can study the way of answering, but you can change only the trait and you have to change the names and so on. So the way of answering, it's constant. It's the same in all the questions. So here we move to part 4. We determine the dominant and recessive and also factorial analysis. Let's move now to this exercise. What I want from you is to pay attention here to this exercise very well. This exercise is showing, this document is showing the pedigree, representing the genealogical tree or the family tree of a family whose members have dark brown hair and others they have red hair. First of all, let's look at the legend. The white box, dark brown, man with dark brown. The white circle, woman with dark brown, and the black one having red hair and the woman circle with red hair. So always the white is for the dark brown. They mentioned this. They gave you the legend. So here we have, how many generations do we have in the pedigree? Yes, Cynthia, what do you think? How many generations do we have in this pedigree? Yes, Cynthia, how many generations do we have in this pedigree? Cynthia is not here. So let's move to others. Tala, yes. How many generations?
Three generations.
Very good. We have 3 generations. This is the first generation. This is the second generation. And this is the third generation. Very good. So we have 3 generations. So if I want to name this individual, what is the name of this individual? It's going to be what? It's going to be 1 dash 1. And this individual is going to be 1 dash 2. In the second generation, I can't say 1 also. So it's 2 1, this individual. And this one is going to be 2 2. And this individual is going to be 2 3. And this individual is going to be 2 4. Moving forward, the third generation. This one is going to be 3 1. And this is going to be 3 2. And the last one will be 3 3. Okay, so you have to pay attention to these names, please. Because if I gave you such a pedigree in the exam, You can't say 1, you can't say 2, because here we have 1, and here we have 1, and also here we have 1. So which one of them? So you have to name the generation. So generation 1, family member number 1. Generation 2, family member 1. Generation 3, family member 1. For example, in the quiz or in the exam, I didn't give you this. I didn't give you the numbers. So what can you say? The same way. So I didn't give you the numbers. Imagine that these numbers that are not found, ما موجودين, these numbers. Okay, I crossed them. So these numbers, they are not found. If I want to answer this, how can I answer this? Simply, also this will be 1, the first individual. So 1, 1. This will be 1, 2. Okay, and I start from the left to the right. Okay, this will be 2, 1, 2, 2, even though I didn't give you the numbers. So you start 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So first of all, they said, is the character red allele? They mean is the character mean that is the allele, red hair, expressed uniquely in men? Justify your answer. If you look to the pedigree, red hair, which one, which is in the black, is expressed only in men? Justify your answer. Yes, Ali, what do you think?
أستاذ تعيد السؤال please.
Is the character red hair expressed uniquely in men, meaning that red hair is only for men, specific or especially for men, or not?
لا يا أستاذ.
Why? Justify your answer.
Um, لأنه أستاذ
English.
because يا أستاذ in the second
Yes.
generation كمان he affected مش بس
It's
المان
affected. It
كمان.
has red hair. So both males and females, they are having red hair. Both males and females from the pedigree. So this means that it's not expressed uniquely in men. Since we have females, also they are having red hair. So it's not expressed uniquely in men. Okay, thank you, Ali. Part B. What do you think, Clean? Is the allele responsible for the red hair character is dominant or recessive? Justify your answer. Before you start, Clean, to answer, my answer should be what? According to the pedigree, not according to my knowledge, and not according to my, for example, fiction. According to the pedigree. So you have to look to the pedigree. Yes, Lynn.
Since both parents 1 1 and 1 2
Very
have
good.
dark brown hair and they gave birth to red hair 2 1 and 2 2, then they both carry the allele of red hair, but it is masked by
In
the
the
dominant
parents.
allele, which is brown
Okay,
hair
very good.
allele,
Very good.
so it's recessive.
So it's recessive. So what did Lean say? Lean, she used the pedigree. So she used the pedigree in order to answer the question. If you didn't use the pedigree, meaning that you didn't get the full answer, even though you won't solve it without using the pedigree. Some of you is going to say what? Usually, for example, Cynthia is going to say, since family members, they are with dark brown hair and they gave birth to individuals having red hair, so the red hair allele, it's masked and it's recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. It's correct, but you're going to take half of the points, even though quarter of the points. Why? Because you didn't use the pedigree. Lean said family members 1 1 and 1 2, they have dark brown hair. And they gave birth to individuals 2 1 and 2 2 that have red hair. So the red hair allele, it was masked in the parent. So it's recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. So it's recessive with respect to the normal dominant allele. Yes, let's move to part C. Here I ask you to designate by symbol the corresponding alleles. What do you think, Ren? Designate by symbols each of the corresponding alleles. اتفقنا نحن الدارك براون هو dominant والريد هو recessive. Okay? Ren, can you hear me? Ren Skyke. Hello. It's me. She's not available. Let's move to Joel. Yeah, designate by symbols, Joel, each of the corresponding alleles.
Okay.
Yeah, start.
Let B capital
Yes,
be the symbol of the dark brown hair allele,
which is
which is the
dominant.
dominant allele over the recessive red hair allele.
Very good. So first of all, I'm an eligible. D capital is for the dark brown.
Let R
Yes. Let R small.
let R small allele be the
Let
symbol
R
of
small.
the
No, no, no. Let R small be the symbol. Okay.
Okay, let R small be the symbol of the red hair allele, which
Very
is
good.
recessive with respect to the dark brown with respect to the dark
Dark
brown
brown
hair
hair
allele.
allele. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Joel. So dark brown, we gave it the symbol D capital. And the red, it's R small. Part D, they ask you to write the possible genotypes of individual 2, 2 and individual 3, 1. Justify your answer. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to write the genotypes of all the family members. All the family members. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3. Even though in the question in the exam, I ask you about 3 or 4 maximum. But here I'm going to write all the possible genotypes for each of the family members, and as well as I'm going to justify this. Let's start first with, let's move for Hani. What do you think? Individuals. I want this individuals. 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, and the 3, 3. What do you think, Hani? What are the possible genotypes? Hani is here? I don't think so. Hani is not here. Let's move now to new students. Hassan, Hassan Zaidan.
مرحبا.
Okay, Hassan. So we have which one is dominant? A little Joel, a dark brown who dominant, with red hair who will recessive. Okay? So 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. They have red hair or dark brown.
فيك تعيدهم 2 1.
2 يلا حطيتهم انا عامل عليهم red. 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 2 with 3, 3. They are red hair individuals or dark brown hair individuals.
Red
Red hair. Red hair is dominant or recessive? Allele.
recessive
Recessive. So it should be expressed what? In homozygous or heterozygous?
homozygous
Homozygous. So what is the genotype of individuals 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3?
RR.
RR. All of them. They are RR. So this is RR. This is RR. And this is RR also. And this is RR. So justification. Thank you, Hassan. If you want to justify this, but all 2, 1, 2, 2, I can work all of them together. I can give them all of them the same justification. 2, 1, 2, 2, on 2, 1, and this is 2, 2. Also 3, 1, 3, 2, sorry, and 3, 3. All of them they have red hair, and the red hair allele, it's recessive. It should be expressed only in the case of homozygous. So their genotype should be RR. Yusuf, individuals 1, 1 and 1, 2. Do they have red hair or dark brown?
Dark brown.
Dark brown. Dark brown hair allele is dominant or recessive?
Dominant.
Dominant. So we gave it the symbol, which one?
DD.
D capital. Okay? So
Yes.
first of all, before we say DD or DR, here we have D and here we have D. This is the first step. Second, if it's DD or DR, okay? Let's check, yeah, Yusuf. They have individuals 2, 1 and 2, 2. شو عنده individuals 2, 1 and 2, 2? They have RR.
Red. Yes.
صح? So they should
Yes.
inherit R from each of their parents.
Parents.
Right? So here 2 هياخد دي من بيو ودي من امه. Right?
Yes.
So they should be 100% DR. And this one should be 100% DR. If you mention that
Okay.
they are DD, none of the individuals, يعني هيدول 2-1 and 2-2, it's impossible to be red hair. All of them, they should be dark brown. But they are red hair, so they should be DR here and DR here. Okay, Yusuf?
أستاذ.
مش الحال?
آه.
Okay, others, guys, any questions before I continue? Everything is clear till now before we move to the second individuals. Everything is clear? مهدي ماشي الحال؟ Okay, yeah. 2-3 and 2-4 يا مهدي. This is yours. 2-3 and 2-4. Nor they have dark
شو
brown or
ماله؟
they have red hair.
دارك براون.
Dark brown شو مالهم؟ سلامتك يا مهدي. سلموا عليك. So they are dark brown, right? So dark brown allele is dominant or recessive?
dominant.
Dominant. So you have here D capital, D capital. So they can be either DD or DR. What do you think? They are DD or DR?
DR.
DR. Why?
لأنه
English,
الأولاد
English,
لإلهم
English, because you have to solve it in English, English.
أستاذ بيي مش بنيويورك خلاني أستاذ.
ببنغلاديش انت.
طيب because they give birth
to
of red
individuals
hair.
3-2 and the 3-3 that are
شو that are يا أستاذ؟
3-2 and the
خلص عنده
3-3.
red hair.
So they have RR. So she should inherit R from each of their parents. So their genotype should be D, R, and DR.
صح.
If you didn't solve it this way, Mahdi, if you are going to say because they have red hair son or daughter, or they have red hair offspring, I will give you 0 for this part because you didn't explain it. So you have to say
ماشي.
both parents, 2-3 and T4, they are dark, they have dark brown hair. And the dark brown hair is dominant, so it can be DD or DR. But they gave birth to 3-2 and the 3-3 that have red hair. So they should be RR and inherit R from each of their parents, who should be DR. إذا حدا بالامتحان بيقول لي they should be either DR or DD، كتب لي اثنين possibilities. DD or DR. أنا هون شو بعمل؟ حط له D 0 ما بتاخد ولا علامة even though أنت معك ال correct one which is this. ما بتاخد ولا علامة. Why? Because you don't know that they gave birth to individuals having red hair. يعني exclusively they should be DR. Other than DR, it would be false. Even though you put one of the choices correct. Okay, let's move now to 3-1. 3-1, I need a new hands here. Fatima Hamzi, good morning.
Good morning.
So Fatima, 3-1 has dark brown or have red hair?
Dark brown.
Darker brown. Darker brown allele is dominant or recessive?
Dominant.
Dominant. So عندنا allele D. They can be either DD or DR.
DR.
So what is the choice here? What do you think? DD or DR?
DR.
DR. Why?
لأنه مو في DD.
They can be DD. Why? They can inherit D from 3 and D from 2-4. Or they can inherit 1D and 1R. So we can't determine exactly whether it's DD or DR unless it got married or he got married, or we do a special technique we're going to talk about this later. So this, it has two choices, either DD or DR. Okay? Thank you, Fatima. Let's move now to Nada. Good morning, Nada.
Good morning.
So part E, Nada. So here we solve part D. We determined all the possible genotypes. So they need in this part only the individuals 2-2 and the 3-1. So we solve all of them with justification. Part E. What did they say? Can you read the question, please?
Without doing factorial analysis, explain how father 1-1 and mother 1-2 with dark brown hair gave birth to a son with red hair.
Okay, without doing factorial analysis. So if you did factorial analysis, if you do factorial analysis, this part will be cancelled. because at the beginning I ask you without doing factorial analysis. So how can you explain, Yanada? Father 1 1 and father and mother 1 2. They gave birth to son with red hair. هيدا son هو 2 2. How? First of all, 1 1 and 1 2, what do they have?
Dark brown.
Dark brown. So they should have the allele D, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how can you explain that they gave birth to a son having red hair?
ما لأنهم heterozygous.
Because they should be heterozygous, carrying the allele of the red, but it was what?
Masked.
Masked in the parents. So they can be DR with DR, so they can give birth. So this is without any factorial analysis, you can solve the question. For example, thank you, Rada. For example, if I ask you, perform the essential factorial analysis to determine, for example, to predict the risk or the proportion for individual to be red hair. Proportion شو لازم نشتغلها؟ لازم نشتغلها proportion 1 over 2, 1 over 4, 1 over 1. If I ask you proportion and you work it in percentage, your question is going to be cancelled. So pay attention. From now on, I'm going to be so strict regarding the quizzes and regarding the answers regarding the pedigree. Last quiz, I want to somehow, for example, flexible in the answers, but this week or this quiz is going to be so strict. So this is everything for our session today. Thank you all.